rendered powerless by alcohol's spell. Once the Lord Buddha was passing through an area called Bhadawatika. On the way, he met with some travellers coming in the opposite direction. Out of concern for the Buddha, they warned him not to go any further towards Ambatita, because at a hermitage there was a Naga serpent called Ambatitaka, which had great powers and was highly dangerous. Because the serpent was a false view, it would certainly harm the Buddha. The Buddha ignored their advice, however, even though they pleaded with him 3 times not to go. The monastic community set up camp in a forest not far from the hermitage of Ambititaka, and they elected that the Buddha's attendant, a monk called Sagata Tira, who was not yet enlightened, but who was endowed with miraculous mental powers, should be the one to deal with the serpent. The elder entered the lair of the serpent and laid down a pile of grass, covered it with a mat, and sat there cross-legged for meditation. The fierce serpent saw the monk meditating and was annoyed. Those who are arrogant normally cannot bear to see others doing good deeds. Rather like looking too long at the sun causes one's eyes to water. The serpent was no exception. It took the monk's meditation as provocation and came out to confront the monk. The serpent breathed smoke over the monk. The monk was ready for the confrontation and deflected the smoke so that it engulfed the serpent. When the serpent saw that the smoke had had no effect on the monk, it changed to breathing fire over the monk. Normally, anyone touched by the flames would be burned instantly to cinders, except for those with exceptional mental powers. The monk used his powers again to deflect the fire back at the serpent, until the serpent couldn't bear the heat anymore. The serpent felt exhausted and turned back into a normal snake, so embarrassed about not being able to conquer the monk that it started to lose some of its arrogance. Before it had been so arrogant it wouldn't listen to reasoning, but now it was more ready to listen. The monk gave the serpent a preaching and made it take the triple refuge and the precepts. The monk returned to the monastic community, and the serpent, now of right view, returned discomforted to its hermitage. The Lord Buddha remained at Bhadawatika a few more days, and then continued towards Kosambi with his community. The tale of Sagata Tira's heroic deeds went before him, and citizens of Kosambi lined up at the roadside to greet the Buddha, Sagata, and the rest of the monastic community. Having received the Buddha, many of the faithful went to visit the heroic Sagata Tira, who had overcome the mighty serpent by his mental powers. They had so much faith in the amazing deeds of the monk that they wanted to offer him something special. They said that he could request anything at all from them. Sagata Tira just smiled and didn't say anything in reply to the offer. However, there was a group of monks known as the Group of Six, who were renowned for being the precedents for breaches of the monastic discipline. They were always finding new ways to break the precepts, making it necessary for the Buddha to have to lay down new regulations for the monks the whole of the time. The group of 6 said to themselves, "We are monks like Siddhartha, but we don't have magical powers like him. Let's play a trick on Siddhartha and have some fun." They persuaded the citizens of the town to offer red liquor to Siddhartha, something he had never tasted before. They praised the offering of alcohol to Siddhartha, saying that it would be special merit for those citizens. They said it would be an ever more special merit to offer this rare substance to such an exceptional personage as Siddhartha Thera, especially when red alcohol is the most delicious drink you can find. The faithful asked, "Is that so? We've never heard that before." "Well, now you've heard it from us," said the group of 6. Well, the citizens believed those monks and were excited to have a new sort of merit to perform. They got their alcohol ready and waited for the opportunity to offer it to Siddhartha. Siddhartha ordained early in life and had never learned about the characteristics of alcohol, and had certainly never drunk any before. The next morning, Siddhartha went on alms round as usual, and when he opened the lid of his bowl, the faithful were quick to fill his bowl with the best red alcohol they could find. The devotees were so proud to have found such a special substance to offer this heroic monk who had overcome the serpent. Siddhartha didn't pay any interest to the contents of his bowl. He had no idea what the substance was. He received everything and anything from all comers. He was certain that the almsgivers would be responsible in the gifts they gave. If it wasn't proper, they would never offer it. Having finished his alms round, he sat down to eat the food in the bowl. He had no idea there was alcohol in the bowl. However, whether you know it is alcohol or not, if you drink it, it makes you drunk. Siddhartha's graceful deportment was reduced to staggering dizzily. He had a strange, warm feeling in the stomach, and he collapsed at the city gate and lay there semi-conscious, murmuring about what such a delicious drink could be. He mumbled incomprehensible nonsense. Once the Buddha had finished his alms round, he returned through the city gate, seeing Siddhartha laying on the ground. The Buddha had 2 other monks help Siddhartha back to the temple. When they arrived back at the temple, the monks laid Siddhartha down with his head pointing towards the Buddha, out of respect for the Buddha. However, as soon as they let go of him, he wriggled, turning himself around so that his feet pointed at Buddha, the height of bad manners. The Buddha said nothing but asked the monks, "Does Siddhartha still have respect towards the Buddha or not?" The monks replied, "He has no remaining respect, sir." The Buddha continued, "O monks, who was the monk so powerful that he could subdue the serpent Ambititaka?" The monks replied, "It was Siddhartha." "And how about now? Could Siddhartha even overcome a water snake?" "Not anymore," the monks agreed. "Now you can appreciate that alcohol, apart from destroying one's wealth, reputation, health, and chance of spiritual attainment, can render powerless those who formerly had so much mental power they could subdue a powerful serpent. Therefore, I do say that to taste alcohol is the kiss of death. It is so harmful that it can render a mighty monk useless. The Buddha asked the monks, "Is this substance that the monk has imbibed, which has destroyed his knowledge and conscience, something we ought to be drinking?" The monks replied, "It is not something that should be drunk." The Buddha reprimanded Siddhartha for his recklessness and laid down a rule prohibiting monks from drinking alcohol except as a constituent of medicine, and retired inside his accommodation. After the Buddha had given his teaching and had laid down the prohibition against alcohol, the monks sat around inside the pavilion and conversed on the subject of the horrendous harm done by alcohol to one's wealth, one's health, one's family, society, and one's chances of enlightenment. They discussed how Siddhartha's outstanding wisdom and mental powers had become prey to alcohol, to the point he had forgotten his respect even for the Buddha, to the point he even pointed his feet at the Buddha. Later, the Buddha passed by the pavilion and asked the monks on what subject they were conversing. The monks replied that they were talking on the subject of Siddhartha Thera. The Buddha thus continued, "It is not only the present time that monastics have imbibed alcohol and fallen unconscious." The monks asked the Buddha to recall the events of the past, and the Lord Buddha explained. In the past, in the time when King Brahmadatta reigned in Benares, the Bodhisattva arose at a Brahmin in Kasi. When he came of age, he renounced the world and became a hermit, cultivating meditation until attaining the sixfold high knowledge, Abhihina, and resided in a Himawanta forest. He had 500 disciples. When it came to the rainy season, the disciples persuaded the Bodhisattva to go into town in search of necessary minerals lacking in their diet, such as salt and vinegar. They planned to return to the forest at the end of the rains. The Bodhisattva reluctantly allowed his disciples to go themselves, saying that he would stay behind alone in the forest to continue with his meditation. He warned his disciples not to stay away longer than the end of the rainy season. The disciples agreed and made their journey to Benares, staying in the royal park there. In the morning, they went on alms round in the village, outside the gates of Benares, and received strong support from the villagers there. The next day, they entered the city. When the hermits entered Benares, again, the citizens gave them strong support, and news of the arrival even reached the king, because he had been informed that a large number of well-practicing hermits were staying in the royal park. Hermits who indeed were a supreme field of merit for anyone making an offering to them. The king was inspired to faith and visited the hermits in the royal park, paying respect to them. He gave the hermits his royal support and patronage throughout the 4 months of the rainy season. The hermits would go on alms round to the royal palace and would return to the royal park to continue their meditation practice. It happened that one day in Benares there was a celebration of National Liquor Day. Everyone in the city would get themselves drunk, something that was nothing out of the ordinary for that city. The king had faith in the hermits, but had no idea whether it was suitable for them to drink liquor or not. He thought it would be his merit if he could find a way for the hermits to join in with the drink festival. The king sought out the best and most potent possible liquor to offer the hermits, and invited the hermits to the palace to receive the offering. The hermits didn't give the offering due consideration before consuming the drink that had been offered, and, consequently, the hermits lost all their usual grace. Staggering clumsily about, forgetting their monastic status, singing and dancing in the royal park. They sang and danced until they fell unconscious and fell asleep lying in the middle of the park. When they recovered their sobriety, they woke up and were shocked at what they had done. They asked themselves, "What came over us to lose our composure?" They regretted what they had done, and they remembered the preaching of their teacher, the Bodhisattva, who hadn't come with them. They thought, if we had known this was going to happen, we would have been better off staying behind with our teacher. Feeling homesick for their teacher, they made their way back to Himawanta. On arrival, they immediately went to see the Bodhisattva. He asked them how it had been in Benares. They replied that in general they had had a good visit, but there had been one day that the king had offered a strange sort of drink, which only when it was too late they had realized that it was inappropriate for them, a drink called alcohol. When they drank it, they had all fallen down unconscious, unable to maintain their mindfulness, and that was the reason they had returned so quickly. In the absence of mindfulness, they had sung and danced without realizing what they were doing. The Bodhisattva reminded them of his parting words, saying, "Before you left me, I asked you to stay so that you would not backslide in your meditation, and upon death you would be able to take rebirth in Brahma world. Now, do you mark my words?" The Buddha concluded from this tale that not only Siddhartha, but all monks, even those of ancient times, had been vulnerable to perils of alcohol. It is because of such circumstances that the Buddha concluded that alcohol brings all who drink it harm in at least 6 ways, as concluded in the Singalavada Sutta. One, alcohol ruins our wealth. 2, alcohol provokes arguments. 3, alcohol ruins our health. 4, alcohol ruins our reputation. 5, alcohol renders us shameless. 6, alcohol ruins our intelligence and wisdom. The dangers of alcohol are outlined such in the Singalavada Sutta, but the dangers are mentioned repeatedly throughout the Buddhist scriptures.